Behind our car reviewer Matis is the old town of Toledo, and in front of him is the new generation of the Seat compact model, named after the city. He's going to check out the latest edition for us. The previous generation, which came out in 2009, was unable to match the success of its predecessors, so now the fourth edition is already about to hit the market, initially in Spain. Visually, it has a markedly edgier design than the third version of the Toledo. We want to know how the style versus substance equation works out with the new model. The TSI engine delivers 77 kilowatts from its 1.2-liter displacement with turbocharger, reveals Matis. It might not turn the Toledo into a rocket, but does give it ample acceleration. Our test Toledo makes the dash to 100 kilometers per hour in 10.4 seconds. On the consumption front, it needs 5 liters of fuel for 100 kilometers. Very impressive. What's more, it has a starting price of just under 14,000 euros in Spain. The price for German buyers hasn't been set yet. Top marks to the Toledo on that score. But what about the engineering? The suspension is solid VW engineering, says Matis. The steering wheel has a comfortable grip and responds nicely. The pedals and gears also respond very precisely. Matis approves. But it's not all good news. There are points where Matis notices that Seat had to make sacrifices. There are power windows for the rear seats, but they cannot be operated from the front. All the driver has are the 2 buttons for the front windows. All he can do from the driver's seat is switch them off. Criticism where criticism is due, although there's little to complain about with the Toledo's front section. Bold contours and structured forms for the body and headlamps set the tone. Instead of being integrated into the mirrors, the indicators are located on the body. Seen from the side, the parallels to the VW Passat are undeniable. The profile sweeps elegantly from the front across the roof and down to the big rear window and trunk. The rear also has bold styling. Matis was impressed by the exterior of the Toledo. So what about the interior? The inside might not be made from the best quality materials, admits Matis. It's hard plastic practically all over. But in visual and workmanship terms, it makes a very good impression overall. In fact, there's a reason for the proliferation of plastic.
The role of the Toledo is looking for rational customers. These rational customers, they are not looking for leather or some high-quality materials, but for reliability and quality.
Matis likes the chrome trim all over the dashboard, on the air inlets, for example, or the instrument cluster. And he also likes these door openers. Very original. The interior certainly looks good. The employment of light colors gives it a both spacious and friendly feel. The space at the front is very good for a compact sedan like this. But the space for the second seat row is crucial. Even if you move the front seats as far back as possible, as Matis has on the right, there's still loads of space behind. The headroom, however, is just about enough for someone of Matis' size. But if he were 5 or 10 centimeters taller, it would be cramped. So despite the odd minor drawback, the interior impressed Matis and adds to the Toledo's tally. So far, so good. But how does the new generation perform when it comes to cargo capacity? Young families with a limited budget will get everything they need with the Seat Toledo, concludes Mattes. It has a sound standard of equipment, modern and environmentally friendly engineering, and oodles of interior space. There's also plenty of space in the trunk, with a capacity of 550 liters. His two bags look rather lost in there. All in all, then, the new Seat Toledo boasts a lot of substance to go with the style. Four wheels good. Two wheels better? BMW is famed for both its cars and its motorbikes. And the new HP4 will certainly take some beating. This is a superbike for the racetrack and country roads. Once the bikes are set up, our test rider puts the HP4 through its paces. Like BMW, Christian is from Munich. He's been riding bikes for 35 years, 10 of them in racing, including the Endurance World Championships. For the last 10 years, he's also been active as a safety coach, which includes circuit training and safety sessions. That job also involves working with the successful S1000RR, or RR for short. It's the basis for the new HP4. Christian has covered thousands of kilometers on the bike, including on the track. He's excited to see where the HP4 outdoes the RR. The bikes are ready to roll. But before the riders really step on it, the instructor first leads the way to familiarize them with the new machine. Following the Boxer models HP2 Enduro, HP2 Megamoto, and HP2 Sport, the HP4 is the first four-cylinder bike from the high-performance family. Out on the track, it's 142 kilowatts of power. Impress. But do you really need that much beef on regular country roads? Not really, says our expert, but there's plenty of torque. On country roads, you drive it with higher gears and lower revs. The power, however, is absolutely sufficient. There's a world first, the dynamic damping control system. DDC uses sensor-supplied parameters to adapt the suspension to the current situation, thus maximizing traction and safety. BMW has advanced its race ABS system. The HP4 now comes with monoblock brake calipers at the front for even better deceleration. The HP4 cuts a very sporting figure. Up front, it has a tinted windshield, and the indicators feature LED lights. The exhaust system is made of titanium, translating into a weight saving of 4.5 kilograms. The footrest can be individually adjusted. The spoiler at the rear is a lightweight carbon construction. The HP4 can switch between the modes rain, sport, race, and slick, depending on the road conditions. The HP4 is the lightest superbike to date in the 1000cc class, weighing in at just 199 kilograms. The water-cooled four-cylinder engine generates 142 kilowatts of power at a peak 13,000 RPM. Acceleration from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour is an explosive 2.9 seconds, and the bike needs only 4 more seconds to hit the 200 clicks mark. Fuel consumption is an acceptable 5.9 liters for 100 kilometers.
Erster Eindruck?
Normally, explains Christian, the rider has to get used to the suspension. This is different. Having the bike adjust itself is a completely new feeling, something the rider also has to get used to. His first impression? Ingenious.
Erster Eindruck, genial.
The price for the basic version in Germany is set at 20,500 euros. If you opt for the competition package, it will cost you 3,200 euros more. The bike is due to be released on the German market December 1st. Dacia presents the second generation of the Sandero. It will be joined in January by the Sandero Stepway crossover, with a robust design aimed at outdoorsy drivers. Dacia has upped the features range for both models, with features including an integrated multimedia navigation system, complete with touchscreen monitor. The Sandero will be sold in Germany at prices starting at 6,800 euros, with the Stepway costing a cool 10,000. Renault introduces the new Clio. Small modern engines make the model up to 20% more efficient than its predecessor. The new 3-cylinder turbocharged gasoline engine has an official rating of just 4.3 liters of fuel per 100 kilometers. The most efficient diesel unit gets by on just 3.6 liters. Drivers looking for individual character can choose from styling packages with roof decals and colorful inserts for the interior and exterior. Robert Wendling knows he's living dangerously. When accidents happen, it's hard to know what's going on. Parts fly through the air, and everything becomes a carousel. Almost all of his colleagues have witnessed their fair share of accidents at work. Cars and vans often drive straight into the protective barriers. Our colleague tells us how a car crashed into the barrier right next to him. The police said it had been doing around 100 kilometers per hour. A crash test by accident researchers in Switzerland show that the temporary barriers could be made much safer. A car smashes into the wall at 75 kilometers per hour. But on Swiss roads, it stays largely intact, thanks to a construction made from cardboard. Accident researcher Norbert Todt recommends spending a few thousand euros for a collapsible element. It is straightforward to produce and incorporates strips of cardboard to absorb impact energy, thus saving lives. So why hasn't this been introduced in Germany? Apparently it's a question for German bureaucracy and internal politics. The guidelines for how roadworks on German highways should be set up are old and outdated. Officials from the relevant ministry claim they haven't even heard of Switzerland's advanced protection barriers, but they say they would follow the query with interest and consider it if appropriate. But not all roadworks accidents can be prevented by taking safety precautions. Experts believe that speeding is the main issue. On this section of Autobahn passing by the town of Eichelberg near Stuttgart, police have been catching speeders every 45 seconds. The fastest clocked 138 kilometers per hour in a 60 zone. At the nearest service station, many people admit they only vaguely stick to speed limits. This man often drives up to 20 kilometers over the limit. He thinks it's okay to drive faster if traffic is flowing freely through the roadworks. This woman says she feels pressed when the roadworks veer off. And she has a point. When approaching roadworks, confusing lane detours can lead to disaster. One false move, and you or your neighbor might find yourself thrown into oncoming traffic. Here's an example. The blue truck forces the orange car into the wrong lane. There's no escape. In real time, everything happens very fast. But Norbert can give us one tip that might help us to avoid accidents like this. His advice is to avoid large vehicles when on the slip road approaching the highway. It's best to keep behind the vehicle so that you're not forced to take evasive action if it makes a mistake. And there's something else. What should you do if your car breaks down in the middle of roadworks? The man standing in front of the car is badly injured. But the mock child strapped inside the car comes away pretty okay. Norbert's advice? To stay in the car, turn on the warning lights and keep your seatbelt on. Check that the traffic behind has come to a halt. Only then is it safe to leave the vehicle. Road workers have no choice but to leave their car while traffic is moving. Their lives would be much safer if drivers took greater care, and there were tougher sanctions for speeding. But since there are no such plans in the pipeline, road workers will have to make do with looking over their shoulders. Mercedes tuning specialist AMG makes sports car lovers' dreams come true. But these days, reducing fuel consumption and CO2 emissions are on all car makers' agendas, and sports cars are no exception. Mercedes claims that its new SLK55 AMG uses 30% less fuel than its predecessor. Our car tester decided to see how they've done it. Klaus says that the new 5.5-liter 8-cylinder aspirated engine generates 422 horsepower with a beefy 540 newton-meters of torque. That's enough to push it from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in 4.6 seconds. But those who take it a bit slower profit from the cylinder management system, which turns the 8-cylinder into a 4-cylinder in a fraction of a second. The sound of the motor is rich and full, and from the outside no one would guess what kind of modern technology is hidden under the hood. Here's a review of the Sport Roadster's performance data. Even during a leisurely drive, the SLK55 AMG retains its trend-setting character. Its sporty bumpers and rocker panels, as well as its brawny exhaust system with 4 tailpipes, reveal right away that this is no entry-level engine. According to Klaus, from the moment you step on the gas pedal, it's clear that only experienced drivers should push this car to its limits. The precise and direct steering, as well as its hard tuning, suit the sports car. The ride's not too smooth, but the 7-speed automatic transmission works perfectly with the strong engine. The latter places weight on the front axle, but during a test to evade an object, this is barely noticeable. The AMG SLK navigates the test course with ease. Only at top speeds does the car have a tendency towards controlled overmaneuvering on all 4 wheels. ESP, which comes as standard, can help in an emergency. During a braking test at 100 kilometers an hour, the SLK comes to a full stop in 34.7 meters. Our tester says that inside, the designers have incorporated countless details from the SLS AMG supercar, like the air nozzles and instruments. He finds that the choice of materials is good, the workmanship perfect, and the controls are simple and easy to operate. Magic Sky Control is the magic word here, which changes the light effect at the press of a button. In sunny conditions, the Vario roof vanishes into the trunk in a matter of seconds. Of course, then trunk space is limited. With the roof closed, the SLK boasts 335 liters of cargo space. Even in the Roadster's front seats, it isn't exactly spacious, though head and leg room are sufficient. The wide C-pillar and narrow rear window reduce visibility at the sides and the rear. A new environmental test calculated the SLK's fuel economy and emissions. The car's cylinder management system produced positive results. The German Automobile Association ADAC measured average consumption at 9.5 liters of Super Plus per 100 kilometers, with CO2 emissions of 265 grams per kilometer. Both figures exceed Mercedes' data, but are still impressive based on the car's performance. Our tester says that the SLK55 AMG shows that even in a sports car, start-stop, regenerative braking, and cylinder management systems boast huge fuel-saving potential. But he notes that this is only true when you don't push this €73,000 car to its limit. In a car as enticing as the SLK, it's all too easy to throw your fuel-efficient driving style to the wind. But then who buys a car like this to appease their green conscience anyway?